I do have a lot of dreams for them, but I'm sure they will have their own dreams. So if I'm very lucky, maybe we can share some of them.
Welcome everybody to this episode of Dadnormous. It's Jonscott Turco. I'm here today with Axel Mañueco. Axel's a friend of my friend Antonio Meza, and Axel's in Mexico in the city of Tijuana at the moment. And I'm happy to be with you. I'm happy to meet you. This is exciting for me to speak with you today. I'll give you some opportunity to introduce yourself and who you are as a dad.
All right. Thank you, Jonscott. It's great to meet you. It's great to be here as a guest of your project, amazing project. I think it's good for all of us dads who are trying to make a difference in our kids, maybe make some great human beings out of them. So my name is Axel Mañueco. I'm 44 years old. I have 3 kids. My oldest kid, she's about to be 11 in September. Her name is Regina. And I have twin boys. They just turned 9 a couple days ago.
They just had a birthday. I saw the celebration.
Yes, we had a birthday. It was a funny birthday because with the COVID-19 and everything, we're trying to keep the social distancing and we're trying to protect ourselves. So we weren't able to make a party like we used to do. And especially my wife, she makes a big deal out of birthdays. So with the COVID and everything, we were like, well, we can make them a huge party or a little party or a party at all, and we can take them to a trip because we also do that. Maybe one year we do a party, and the next year we do a trip to Disney or a trip to some beach or anything. So she came up with this idea and respect the social distancing while they're having fun. So that's what we did. The kids, they were in a little pool, and they were there. It was a hot day, and all their friends from the school and from their different projects, they came around with their dads and balloons full of water, and it was quite a fun day. So
I'm sure they had a great time.
They did have a great time. I think the mom had a great time too. I did too.
So
yes.
So as you look at this, and you're coming off of a great celebration with the boys and with the family, and again during the pandemic and the changes, when you look at this now, and the boys turned, how old were they?
9 years old.
9. So if you look back 9 and your daughter's 11, so maybe 12 years back, can you remember the news and when you first found out with Alejandra that you were expecting? How did you feel?
Well, it was a shocking thing for us because although we have talked a lot about having kids, and my wife is an only child, so she always grew with, she was always missing that part of a brother. So she always had in mind since she was a little girl, I want to have a family and I want to have a big family. She kind of missed that when she was a little girl. Right. I have 3 brothers, so I was like, I know how a big family works. It's not that great. You have to, sometimes you fight and sometimes you right. So, but I love them very much, and we get along very good. So when we found out, we weren't trying to have a kid. It was a surprise for us. Okay. And in that particular time, I was just starting a new job. I was just trying to recover financially because I had a previous bad experience. So it was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Are we expecting right now? Yes, we are. So we went nuts, like for maybe 48 hours. What are we gonna do? What's happening to us? And I wasn't that young. I had 34 years. I was 34 years old. So, but I always had in mind also to have kids. When we finally digest the news, right, we were like, well, what are we gonna do? Well, let's get on our hands on deck. And immediately we started planning. We made a budget of the things we needed. We went to we bought paint, and we bought the cribble, and we did a fantastic job with the little girl's room. And I can tell you, Jonscott, the first second we went to the doctor to hear her little beat, I mean, I think that's the most amazing moment in my life. Hearing that heartbeat run so fast,
Sure.
I want to cry just to remember.
It's an awesome moment.
Yeah, and so to attend your question, we weren't really looking for having a kid, and it shocked us. But when we realized what was happening to our lives, it became the single most wonderful moment in our lives, and it still is.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. And if I can speak to you specifically as a dad, in that moment, singularly, like inside of you as a man, where were you? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you everything? Like, you know, where did you go? I know you were sharing it, of course, with your wife. And as a person, where were you, you know, Axel, where were you in that moment?
Wow, that's a great question. I can tell you my life changed as soon as as we heard the news we were expecting, but it changed in two ways. As soon as you become a dad, and you become a dad when you heard when you know you're expecting, that's the moment you become a dad, not just when, not until the baby is born. It's the moment when you know you're expecting, that's when you're a dad. And it not changed. I was this social guy with so many friends, so many parties all the time. I used to live in Cancun, Mexico. And if you know Cancun, or some of your audience knows
I've been there
Cancun.
many times, yes.
Okay, so you know.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a happy place. It's a place of party. It's a beautiful place, and there's so much things to do when you're young, and when you have the resources to have fun. So I could go to party from Wednesday to Sunday, and I worked and I did really good in my job. But when I heard I was going to be a dad, something changed like this. No one told me, okay, now you're going to be a dad, so you need to settle down, you need to cool off, you need to be more responsible, you need to get your things straight. No one told me. It was like magic. So I was doing good in my job. I was starting a new job, like I told you, but was racing a little fast. But something changed. I suddenly realized there's so much more to give in life than I have always been a man that thinks you come here to be happy. And my way of being happy before I knew I was going to be a dad was having lots of friends, lots and lots of friends. And I still have them. And we love each other very much. We keep in touch and everything, even though we live in different parts, such as you and Antonio.
Sure.
I realized that happiness is much more than just having fun. Having fun is just a moment. Happiness is a state of mind. Happiness is knowing that you are going to bring to life a little human being that you're going to be responsible of. Mm-hmm. And you need to be the best version of you for that person in order to make that person try to be the best person of, in this case, her, my first daughter. Yeah. So I was in a different way that I'm right now. Yes. Right now, I'm such a people person. I mean, I care so much for people. I always act and do things thinking if my son or daughter, my sons or my daughter will be here, and if they were seeing me, will they be proud of what I'm doing right now? Every day of my life, I walk this path thinking they are seeing me, and what am I doing?
That's a really great perspective to have on how you show up every day, because I think it's an important lesson. And over the years, collectively, there's so much information that's commonsensical, right? Like you hear it and you read it and you're like, yeah, of course. And you can say whatever you want to say, verbally, and kids and people in general, but kids for sure are going to watch.
Yes.
And they're going to learn by that. So it brings up an interesting point, because as you go about your life and think about what your kids are seeing, what your sons and what your daughters see, how you show up every day. If you had an opportunity so far, so if you had a chance to do over, is there something that jumps out at you that you would, if you could, you would do over at this point in terms of you being a dad and something you did or said or thought or something specific?
Yes, I have it very clearly.
Right.
I will have kids sooner.
Okay.
I wouldn't wait until I'm 34. I would have had them, I don't know, maybe in my mid-20s, because even though I'm pretty much with them and I play with them and I can still have them in my back and piggy ride them, but I think the energy you have when you're younger, it's amazing. I thankfully I still do have energy.
Sure.
But I could tell you right now, if I had kids younger, mid-20s, maybe I wouldn't be stuck at 3. Maybe I would have 6 or 7. I don't know.
Let me ask you though, if I see your point, obviously, and if you, since you had your kids up until now, in the last 12 years, is there something that if you could do over since becoming a father,
okay,
that you would take the opportunity to redo?
Okay, since I became a father. Well, it's an interesting question. I think, funny thing, since I became a father, I also kind of became a workaholic, because I'm a very present dad, but every single moment I have that I'm not with my kids or my wife, I'm always thinking of work or doing stuff about work. And when I'm physically at the office, I tend to take long hours. I mean, I could get out of office about maybe at 5 p.m., but many times I get stuck 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and then I go home and I get to be with my kids just maybe half an hour instead of being maybe 2 or 3 hours. So that's what I would do different. Maybe I could be more organized with my times, okay, between job and home, and that way I could have been more physically time with my kids when they were a little younger.
Okay, and again, there's no right or wrong answer to this. So, and I will say this for myself and for everyone who's going to see this video: if you figure out how to get to that balance, please share it with us, because we all strive for that, right? We all strive for that balance, and we've spoken about that in several other of my talks. And it's a constant process. It's a constant process of time and effort and work and home and who you are as a person and how it shows up in all facets of your life. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that's an important reality that you address on a day-by-day basis.
Yeah, thank you.
So as you look at your kids now, and they're 11 and 9, soon to be 12 and 9, and you look at the future, and you're 44 now?
Yes.
So I'd like to ask you just to take 10 years. So you're 54, you have a 21-year-old and twin 19-year-olds. And if you could think about talking to your 3 kids in the year 2030 and trying to explain to them at that time how you feel as their dad today, right now, if they were to watch this video in 10 years, how are you feeling as their dad? What's present for you right now as their dad?
In 10 years, well, I do have a lot of dreams for them, but I'm sure they will have their own dreams. So if I'm very lucky, maybe we can share some of them. But I will always respect what they want to be in that, what they want to do with their lives, and which path will they take. Hopefully, a good one. which I'm pretty sure they will, because even though they're really, really young right now, you can already see how their brain thinks and how their personality is. And I see a lot of good in them. I see kindness in them. I see honesty in them. So I'm pretty sure in 10 years, and I think a lot of us, even though your kids are maybe a little older, we will all be talking about the year 2020.
Yeah,
This
sure.
year will be disruptive for all families in the whole world. And we will be talking about all the good things they've been doing now that we're in-house, that we're experiencing something we never thought we will have to experience. And I'm pretty sure this experience will make them even gooder than they are right now. So the talk I will have with them in 10 years will be, you really helped us out when the pandemic was going on. You never were a pain for us. You were this kid, this little kid that with all this energy knew that had to use your mouthpiece. And we couldn't be the whole time you had online schooling and you did your homework on your own. And just by doing that, you became a better person, a better kid, and a better human being. And we didn't need to tell you all the time, you need to do this, you need to do that. You were washing your dishes, your own dishes. You were making your own bed. You were cleaning out for the dogs. You were making me laugh when I came out of a difficult day. You read to me. When I used to read to you, and at the age 11, at the age 9, you were reading to me. You made dinner for me. So what I would tell them in 10 years is thank you, because the reason I, as a working dad, made it through this awful pandemic is because of you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. That was great. And you know, it puts you into a place of reflection, and it also puts you into a place of a reflexive, like, fear. There's just, no matter how much you can control, this has taught all of us, again, like life often does, that there's so many things outside of our control. No matter how much you want to be organized, like you said, or to make sure that you have everything handled. You know, it's one of the things that we do as dads, is like, we handle things. And this is an odd experience for all of us, that, you know, this is totally outside of our control. So as you look at this and your ability to control things and your ability to have to show up for your children in a way that is helping them learn about, no matter how well-intentioned and much you plan, life often presents you with challenges that you have to adapt to and roll with. So what are some other lessons that you think kind of stand out for you from your own childhood that you try to carry forward with your children today?
Okay, good question. Well, my dad, who is a great guy, he still lives. My dad is 80 years old. He's a strong man. He was a really hard-working dad, and he gave us everything. I mean, sometimes I was mad at him because I saw him wear the same sneakers for years. So I was, come on, man, buy some new sneakers. And I later understood that he always had us first, and he chose to give us a great education, gave us great clothes, gave us a great house, gave us everything before wanting to change his sneakers. So that's great about him. But I didn't get to hang out with him so much. He worked so hard, he worked so much, that we hadn't had the time to spend together as much as I would have wanted.
Okay.
And that always got me something like, I would have wanted my dad to be there in a fun kind of way. he wasn't the fun dad. He was a great dad. He was a responsible dad. He was a providing dad, but he wasn't the fun dad. So I always thought that you can't be just a fun dad, right? you have to keep that balance also. Yeah. And that changed me. That always in my mind, I want to be present for them. I don't want to be the angry dad. I don't want to be the one that's always talking about the rules, which you have to have. Sure. But we can also have fun. And that's what I've been trying to do as a dad. I'm trying to play with them. They are right now, they are in the video game phase. Sure. And I'm there with them in the video game phase. So sometimes with the online gaming, their friends are playing with them. And then we're going to tell my dad to join us. And the friends are, who? My dad. Your dad plays? Yeah, sure. And it's so funny to hear them play and interact, you know? And I read to them every night. We're reading Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers right now. And I make these voices, like I'm trying to make them use their imagination to imagine Gandalf and to imagine Frodo and to imagine Galadriel. I'm not their friend, right? As it sounds, as it is. I'm their dad. So we have rules. And when they need to be grounded, they are grounded.
That's an interesting balance to strike, right? We talk about that all the time, between being there and showing up and listening and understanding and being a guide as much as you can and being supportive, and also finding that balance between, you know, setting some boundaries for them. And, you know, how has that shown up for you already with an 11 and 9-year-olds? How have you already had to enforce some boundaries that may be surprising to you that you weren't expecting when you first became?
Well, yeah. The one thing that I can tell you is that when I get mad about something or upset about something, they take it seriously because it's not that often.
Okay.
So that's the boundary. When I say, this was not right, you should never talk to your brother like that. You should never talk to your mom like that. You should never talk to me like that. You should help others. They know I'm for real. When I'm not playing with them and I'm serious, they know that's it. My dad is mad. So I think I really messed up this time. And I don't have to yell so that they know that I'm upset about something. And I can tell you right now that none of my teachers would have thought of me being that kind of dad.
Okay.
None of them. So I think that's the answer to your questions. I don't get mad that easy. I have a large amount of patience, but when something upsets me, they know it and they acknowledge it and they try to change it.
Great.
I think.
That's all you can do, is hope that it gets through. And you're on the precipice now of that teenage years. So the real heat is going to be turned up a little. So I wish you great degrees of patience in the upcoming years.
Thank you.
Our friend Antonio has a little longer time frame, as we spoke about.
Oh, yes.
I'll link Antonio's video above. So for those of you who are watching, haven't seen it, I'll link it above as well to see. And I'll put it at the end too. So as you look at being a dad and as you look at this journey, because you're 12 years, 9 years into this journey, and as you look ahead and you think about legacy and the legacy that you carry forward from your dad and his dad and generations, and the legacy that you're continuing with your own kids, when you think about them in the future, how would you like for them to experience you as their dad and talk about you and live you as their dad when they're 20 years from now, whatever, 30 years from now, and have their own families and they speak about you?
I think commitment. I think what I would love to teach them is commitment. As I just told you about my dad. My dad, he always put us first. I kind of think that he should have sometimes put himself first, right? But he always unselfishly put us first, and that's commitment to his family, to his wife, to his kids. And I think that's the greatest single value I would like to show them. And I would love for them, when someone asks them about their dad when they were younger or in the present, they say, my dad is a committed guy. He's always there for us. He's always been there for us. And I know I can grab the phone right now and talk to him at 3 a.m., at 7 a.m., at 12 p.m., and he's gonna be there. I think that would be great. That would make me really happy.
That's great. So when you think about advice that you give friends who are about to become dads, what type of advice do you think, based on your 12 years experience as a dad, what is it that you feel important to share with people as they're about to become dads?
Well, I think it's, don't think about it too much. There's no script
Sure.
about how to be a good dad or a good mom or a good parent. There is no schematics. There's not a perfect book. There's no such things. You can prepare yourself. You can read so much. You can watch this kind of interaction. This project is beautiful because of that. Because maybe expecting dads will hear from different cultures and different parents, and they say, oh, well, maybe this works for me. Maybe I like the way this guy thinks. Maybe I could think something similar. But don't read too much, and don't ask for much advice. Mother Nature is great. It shows you the way in things you never thought you could find a way. You don't need your friends telling you what to do. You don't need your father telling you what to do. You don't need your mom telling you what to do, your brother telling you what to do. You just need yourself, your instincts, your wife or your couple to tell you, together we have this together. And whatever thing we choose to do and whatever thing we do, maybe we're wrong sometimes, which we are.
Yeah, that brings up a great point as well, which is, I like to say, we probably are, and we will make mistakes. And how do you reconcile that with your children, that, we're flawed and we make mistakes too? How do you address that with your kids thus far in their lives with you as their dad?
Always acknowledging. When I make a mistake, especially when it's about them, maybe, this happens a lot of times in a lot of homes, that who took my phone or who took my pen, and it was right here, the control remote was right here. I know it was you, Marcelo. I know it was you. I saw you playing with it. And the kid is like, no, it wasn't me. I know it was you. I saw you last time. And then later on, you find the thing that was lost, and you find it in your pocket, maybe, no? So it's like, oh my God. So when these kind of situations happen, always, I go to my kid and say, dude, I'm sorry. I know I yelled at you. I know I told you I didn't believe you. It was my fault. I had it on me the whole time. I'm really sorry. I thought it was you, and it was very wrong of me because I didn't believe you at the first, and I didn't ask, and then I didn't look for it well. It's just an example, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to give that example for them that's how life should be. You should always acknowledge your mistakes so that you can work on them. And the next time a similar scenario presents yourself, you maybe can work it a little better than the last time.
That's a great example. And I think owning our mistakes and sharing that ownership with our kids is important because it gives them permission to fail and grow.
Yes.
As they get older. So that's a critical lesson. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So we're going to get ready to wrap up, and I'll ask you to think about any thoughts you have that you want to share with us.
Sure. My kids are young still, but these 12 years we've been talking about, I think they started yesterday. Time flies so fast, so fast. It's unbelievable. I mean, I get a chill just thinking of it, because I can still remember when I was changing their diapers and singing them a lullaby. And the first time they took their first step, and the first time they spoke their first word. And now they are these kids with their own thoughts and with their own personality, and they're funny and they're curious and they're magnificent human beings. But time flies so fast. So my thoughts are, enjoy every single moment of their lives and of your life. We all know our kids are in Mexico. They have this saying, no, the kids are you borrow the kids. They're not really yours. God just gave them to you, and he's borrowing them to you. And eventually they're gonna leave the house, and then you're gonna be when you started, but maybe 18, 20 years older.
Sure, sure.
So in that sense also, we need as parents to have this really stretch interaction with our wives or our husbands or whatever, because kids will be gone, and we need to take appreciation of every single second, and we need to be together in every single step of their lives and be strong together as a family and strong together as a couple, so that when they leave, which they're gonna leave, they can know they can always come back home, and they will still find the same loving home they have than when they were 8 years old or 4 years old or 12 years old.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. It's been
You.
a real pleasure to speak with you, Axel. I wish you good luck, and I wish you a lot of joy with your family. It's been great. It's been great to speak to you today. For those of you who've joined us, please feel free to check out the other videos I'll post around. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and send me a note if you'd like to be a guest on a future episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonscott. Congratulations on this project, and to think about other people which you don't know. Just to give these hints, it's great.
Great, I appreciate
Humanity needs that.
Appreciate it.